Hey guys, Colvin here with your fishing report for Bull Shoals Lake. Today is Friday, May 12th, and the lake is almost full. Right now we've got 33 extra feet of water in Bull Shoals Lake. It's relatively clear, unless you get in the back of some of the creeks. Most of the debris is pushed up on the shores. If you get a calm day, it'll float out a little bit, but the Army Corps of Engineers projecting that the lake is going to crest sometime this weekend. And as we continue to fill up, the fishing is still good. A little bit tougher on the bluebird days, but as it starts to stabilize, the bass are post-spawn. Some of them are starting to school up, and I'm catching more fish in the bushes. Had to stick to the old shoreline there, but more and more I'm catching more fish up in the bushes. And as the water continues to come up, it seems like more of those fish are coming up. The smallmouth, as they start to, once we crest and they start to generate more water, I think it's going to concentrate those Kentucky smallmouth bite out towards the points. Usually when they start generating those long points, secondary points coming out, those fish will school up on there pretty good. They can ambush the bait as the water starts pushing the bait fish over those points. So that's something to keep in mind as the lake changes daily here. It's still fishing. Like I said, on the bluebird days, if you've got no wind, it's a little bit tough, but you go out, you're still going to catch a few. The best bet, if it is, if it's bluebirds calm days, you can go fish the old shoreline. You can drag a tube around in that old shoreline, keep the boat in that 40 foot, and you're going to cast up into the old bushes. The points are holding fish right now. The pockets have some fish in them. The sides of the pockets, the deep bushes, the tube, you can Carolina rig, you can throw a jig in there. I'm throwing like a 1/2 ounce green pumpkin orange, something in that nature, something you can get down there and just drag it through those old bushes. Carolina rig will work with a brush hog or a lizard. Green pumpkin orange, green pumpkin red, something of that nature. A lot of the water is a little bit stained up top, but once you get down on that old shoreline, it clears up down there. So once you get below that, it's not like you can throw a braid and get away with it. Usually I'm using 8-pound fluorocarbon on either the drop shot or the tube rod for that finesse bite. Now, the largemouth, the black bass, some of them seem to be moved up pretty good. I'm catching them pretty shallow. They seem to be on those channel swing banks or those old bluffy banks where you can still get in close to the shoreline. You'll have to do some running around, but you can get a couple patterns going throughout the lake. If you can find those channel swing banks or get on those long points that go out towards the main channel or close to a channel swing, those are going to hold some fish on them right now. The creeks, the backs of the creeks can be pretty good. If you get to the backs of the creeks, if there's some flow in there and some bait fish is really what I've been keying on when I'm going in the backs of those creeks. We've got an extra mile or sometimes 2 miles in the backs of some of these creeks, so there's a lot of water to cover back there. Good thing to keep in mind is to stay on the old creek bed. They're going to use that as a highway when they're going through there. You can kind of pick that up on the map, or a lot of your chips should have that on the old satellite overlay. Those fish will relate to that old creek channel in there. Now, if I'm covering water back there, I'm going to either throw a square bill to cover some water. If I'm seeing a lot of surface activity, I'll throw a buzzbait around. You really got to cover some water to get to you know, to find out where the bait fish at, they're not exactly going to be popping. You always got to run your bait into them. If there's some wind, that'll help you, because that'll kind of push them to the one side or the other. Now, if you get in the back and there's mats, you guys can, if you like to flip, this is, you know, you don't get to do this all the time. You can flip, you can punch those, and you'll know what I'm talking about, that they're pretty much mats of vegetation. They look like mulch on the water. You can punch that with a beaver style bait. This is a D-bomb. That's catching a few fish. Whatever beaver style bait you're comfortable using, use a 1/2 ounce weight, punch through there, yo-yo it a couple times. If they're in there, a lot of those fish are going in there and using those as shade, especially if the wind's blowing all that stuff into one little pocket. They can get under that canopy, and you just got to punch, get a big enough weight and let it flop through there. You'll get a few fish doing that. One of the other things I'm doing is, if it's, you know, I like a Kitech, I'm starting to see the perch come up, the sunfish, so I use this kind of like a finesse spinner bait. If you got a little bit of wind and the water's a little clear, you can't quite throw a spinner bait, that'll help you cover a little bit of water. Also, you can throw a stick bait or a fluke around, or a Senko style bait. The Senko bait, you can, that last little piece of vegetation, or the last tree that's sticking out, those fish seem to be stuck in those. You can't quite get the bait in there. You can throw a jig in there if you're comfortable using a jig, but a fluke or Senko style bait, and that kind of that isolated, that last bush or that last tree going into the, you know, off the point or going into the sides of the pockets, that seems to be pretty good. By far the funnest bite has been blades, guys. If you've got wind and you got clouds, go find the windy shoreline, start throwing the blades. Caught a lot of fish on blades this week. It's slow rolling it, getting it right up as close to the shoreline as you can, and just pick it all apart, and you'll start catching fish if you got enough wind. It's one of those things too, you just got to find the right bank with the wind. The right banks for me have been the deeper banks, the channel swing banks that have the wind on them, whether it's in the back of the creek or out on the main lake. Some of those main lake points are starting to get some fish on them. One of the things you're really going to have to start paying attention to, guys, is, you know, the conditions. So we all love the power fish, but if it's calm, bluebird skies, you guys are going to have to work for them a little bit more. If you want to get bit for sure, definitely move out to that little deeper water. You'll catch a few more fish. Thanks for watching, guys. Get out here. We got a lot of water to play with, so have fun. Enjoy it while you can. If you guys want to book a trip, give us a call. We'd be more than happy to take you out. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing.